happy we are that so many of you are here with us today as we have our kickoff for kids voting. Kids voting came to St. Clair County a couple years ago, and we are very proud to be affiliated with Kids Voting USA. It's our goal to increase voter turnout by giving students hands-on experience to learning all about the voting process. And really, kids voting is pretty simple. Students learn about the electoral process in the classroom before the election, and then they accompany their parents to the polls. Students vote right alongside with their parents using a similar ballot as the actual one used by adults, and then the results are tabulated and reported just like they would be for those taking part in the general election. It's our hope that this opportunity to vote is going to produce a new generation of voters who understand the process, are better informed, and are more motivated to vote. As you can imagine, it takes many people to make something like this work, and we are very fortunate in our community to have so many people willing to work. And I'd like to introduce to you the executive board here for St. Clair County's Kids Voting. And Mike Scobie is our other co-chair and really who brought the idea of kids voting to our community. And some of the board members are with us today, and I would ask that you stand if you're here. Buzz McNash, who's from the community college. We have Nancy Jo Trafton from the Times-Herald over here. Marilyn Dunn, who is the clerk of St. Clair County. And Pauline Repp, who is the clerk for the city of Port Huron. We have also with us a non-executive board, Rebecca Fannin from the Intermediate School District. Jan Rose, who is from the E&A Credit Union. And last but certainly not least is Bob Beeden from Port Huron Area School District. We'd also like to welcome Tom Miller from Assistant Superintendent. He's here. And we're very happy today, too, to recognize Karen Jameson, who is from Senator Dandergrove's office. We would like to ask you to hold your applause as we ask a few other people to stand. Would all the parents in the audience please stand? We have some parents with us today? We hope so. Oh, that's good. And now could we ask all of the teachers to stand? And all of the students who are here to stand? And all of the administrators? All administrators who are with us? And all board members who are here? And give yourselves a big round of applause. We would like to begin our program with a Pledge of Allegiance, so if you would all stand again. I don't know where we have a pledge. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We are so happy to have East China Band here with us today, and at this point we are going to stand once again and sing the national anthem. So join in and let us hear your loud voices. And we have some Mr. Kraft. Thank you very much. It is my great pleasure to have the opportunity to introduce to all of you today Dee Dee Murphy, who is the National Projects Coordinator for all of Kids Voting USA. This is her second time back to our community, and we are going to hear some words from her about kids voting and what's happening all across the country. Dee Dee is from North Carolina, and she's been with Kids Voting for 8 years now, since 1992. She has 2 grown children of her own who grew up with Kids Voting, and her responsibilities are to start up projects and then continue with them. And Dee Dee is full of energy and good ideas, and I ask you to help me welcome her. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. I am indeed pleased to be here for my second trip to Port Huron, and Port Huron is quickly becoming one of my favorite cities to visit. You've got a very unique spirit here and a lot of involvement, as is displayed by the event that we have today. So, good morning to everyone. And I bring you greetings from Kids Voting USA, which is headquartered in Tempe, Arizona, although I do work out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Kids Voting currently has programs in 40 states. Many of those states have multiple programs within the state, and our goal for this November is to have 2 million kids voters in 2000. So we're counting on each and every one of you to participate, to go to the polls on Election Day, to go with and to take your parents, your guardians, an older brother or sister, and we're counting on you to help us reach our goal of 2 million in 2000. I'd like to also acknowledge the leadership of Kids Voting Port Huron and their sponsors for making this program available to the students and the teachers in this community. We'd like to thank you for your contributions of time, your contribution of money, and your contribution of your leadership. Kids Voting got started in 1988 in a suburb of Phoenix, Arizona as a pilot, and quickly spread statewide to the entire state of Arizona in 1990. In 1992, there was the first national expansion where Kids Voting spread to 10 states. Now, Kids Voting is up to 40 states. Why has Kids Voting spread so quickly and so rapidly? It's because it's a very good idea and a very simple idea. Of course, students should be learning about the political process as part of their school lessons. Of course, they should be going to the polls with their parents and voting as a family. What Kids Voting hopes is, through practicing and through socializing the notion of voting, that when you grow up and you can vote as adults, the real vote when you're 18, that you will become ingrained in the habit and voting will be part of what you expect to do. That is what we hope will happen, and that is what Kids Voting is all about. Now, I travel around the country quite a bit, and I speak to a lot of people, young and old, about kids voting, what it means, and I have a lot of choices when I have to decide what I'm going to talk about. And so today I've decided to talk to you about something that I think is a little unique. I want to talk about the Kids Voting generation, why you are special. I'd like for you to help me with this by taking just a moment to close your eyes where you are and think quietly to yourselves, what makes you special? Just think for a moment. What makes you special? Now open your eyes and let's reflect on what you might have thought. It's possible that you thought, well, I'm special because I'm a good student. I'm good at math. I'm good at science or language arts. Maybe you think you're special because you have a creative gift for art or music or drama. Maybe you can play an instrument or perform exceptionally well. Or maybe you're a leader in your school, your church, or your community. Perhaps you're special because you're a good brother or sister, son or daughter. You're considerate and you're helpful. Maybe you're a good friend. You're special because you're loyal and kind and you're fun to be around. These are just some of the reasons that you might have thought you were special, and I'm sure there are others. But I want to add one more to your list of thinking today. Another thing that makes you very special is that you are a Kids Voter. You have the opportunity to study about candidates and issues. You get to go to the polls on election day with a parent or guardian or older brother and sister, and you have an opportunity to vote. And by doing that, you are doing something that is very, very special. Kids voting, the idea for it came from Costa Rica when 3 businessmen from Arizona were on a fishing trip there. And they found that adults in that community vote at a rate of over 90%. Also, they found out that young kids have been going to the polls to vote with their parents for over 60 years. These businessmen came back to this country and they thought, there's got to be something in this idea that we can borrow. In their state, they had a lot of trouble with voter apathy, as many states do. So they borrowed the idea of kids voting, and they used it to launch a nationwide program that is now the most respected grassroots organization for getting young people to vote. So you are a part of that. And when you go to the polls to vote in November, think that you are a part of a chain of 2 million other voters across the country. That is very, very special. You are learning and practicing the important act of voting and of being a good citizen. And as you join with those 2 million across the country, you are preparing for citizenship as an adult. What do good citizens do? Good citizens volunteer, they care about their community, and they vote. By being a good citizen, participating in our democracy, you're keeping it strong. This will be one of the most important things you can do in the new millennium. But Kids Voting USA thinks that it's never too young to start, and that you don't have to be a grown-up in order to be a good citizen. Everyone in here, you young folks, you are the Kids Voting generation, and we're counting on you to be good citizens in the new millennium. Now, when you go to the polls to vote in November, you'll see a lot of candidates on the ballot. There are even a lot of candidates for president. I was working with the executive director of Florida, and she said, Dee Dee, you've got to help me. We've got 9 candidates who qualified for president to be on the ballot in Florida. So it's not just about Bush and Gore, Democrat or Republican. There are representatives running for president from the Green Party and the Prohibition Party and the Reform Party. And you'll study about all of this as part of your lessons. But I'd like to leave you, the Kids Voting generation, with one very important thought. It doesn't matter who you vote for when you go to the polls. What is important is that you vote. And the way Kids Voting USA feels about it is, and this is an important point to take with you when you leave, that no matter who you vote for, when kids vote, we all win. 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 Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dee Dee Murphy. We will all win if we are successful in getting the adults and kids in this community out voting November 7th on Election Day. We have some very special guests for you to hear today, and we have from Congressman Bonier's office, Tim Morse, who I'm going to ask to come up and read a letter from Congressman Bonier. Tim?
Thank you, Ellen. Good morning. It's great to be here for the kickoff of the Kids Voting 2000 campaign. Congressman Bonier was unable to join us this morning. However, as Mrs. Rogers has mentioned, he has given me a letter that I'd like to read and leave. If you bear with me, it reads, "Dear students, whenever the question of why should I vote comes up, I'm reminded of the story Theodore Roosevelt told about his decision to enter politics by running for the New York State Assembly. When his friends disapproved, telling him that politics was not a profession for a gentleman, Roosevelt retorted that only proved to him that gentlemen were not a part of the governing class he intended to join. It is a sad commentary, but you students can become members of the governing class not by running for political office, but merely by voting. In our state's last primary election, the turnout among registered voters was less than 20%. Anyone who voted in that election, in effect, was making decisions for 5 other voters. That's voters, not citizens. Since many who would be otherwise eligible to vote have not, for whatever reasons, registered to vote, that figure is pushed up considerably higher. Taking into account both factors, in some local elections, one voter is making decisions for 15 or even 20 other adults. So what kind of decisions do members of the governing class make? Well, what kind of opportunities our young people will have? What kind of retirement our elderly will have? What our children will be taught in our schools, and how much will we spend on their education? What level and types of services government will provide, and who will pay what share for them? The quality of the water we drink and the air we breathe. Who will serve in our military, and when and where will they be committed to action? In other words, the future of our country, war and peace, life and death. Those are the kinds of decisions that members of our governing class, our electorate, make. I would like to leave you with one other thought. The right to vote has been purchased with the blood of millions of members of our armed forces who have been killed or maimed in direct defense of this right and our other democratic freedoms. Many of those who made such sacrifices were denied the full rights and privileges of citizenship, including voting, and in many instances, the right of citizenship itself. We should also remember the civil rights workers and freedom riders who paid with their lives for their efforts in helping citizens that had been disfranchised become registered to vote. I hope that all of you will reflect upon these ideas when you consider whether you want to become a member of our governing class by voting, or whether you want to relinquish this right and duty to others who will make your choices for you. Sincerely, David E. Bonier. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. We are next very pleased to have with us today Circuit Court Judge Daniel Kelly, and I'd ask him to come forward and share his remarks with all of you.
Thank you. Well, I'm in the middle of a jury trial this morning. I just took a break, actually, and while we're getting ready to go into final arguments on a case involving an armed robbery. And I oftentimes tell jurors that serving as jurors, one of the 2 most important things that we can do as citizens. The other, of course, is voting. Voting is very important, and I think that probably you're a lot more familiar with the process than many of us realize, because you vote, I'm sure, in your classes for a class president or for student council, don't you? How many get to vote for student council or someone else in your class? So you've seen the signs, and you've actually voted, haven't you? Well, good. And I bet some of you have gone with your parents on election days to the voting precincts to vote. How many of you have ever gone with your parents when they vote? Quite a few of you already have. You know, I've got two little girls. I guess they're not so little anymore. One's 6, the other one's 10. And they insist upon going with me every time I go to vote. And I think that's really important for a number of reasons, one of which is, as a judge, I'm one of the elected officials. You don't just vote for president and you don't just vote for governor. In our country, you vote for a number of other people, including who's going to serve as your judges, who's going to serve as members of your school board, who are going to make all the decisions that are really going to affect you on a day-to-day basis. And so there's a lot of reasons to be very interested in who's in charge of your life. And frankly, the people that are in charge of your life are the people who you elect. And so it's very important that you do your job so that we have the best people helping run the government, run the school boards, run the courts for you. Now, you know, it wasn't always this way, and I guess if I'm going to come from the background of the law, I have to talk about Constitution and forms of government and all those things that people expect of judges. But I can put it into a little bit more context because my oldest is a young girl that my wife and I went over to Romania to adopt about 10 years ago and brought back with some help from Congressman Bonnier's office and others. And in that country, which was then just finishing up the era of communist dictatorship, people didn't get to vote. I mean, if you tried to even speak your mind as to how the government could be run, you might find yourself in a prison. Here, you have the opportunity to do it, and America was one of the very first countries where this whole concept of democracy really grew up. When we celebrate the 4th of July, we're celebrating a time when we broke away from being run by a king. You probably never thought of America as having a king, or that if you lived over in Massachusetts or on the East Coast or in New York back in the early 1700s and you looked in your pocket and you pulled out a coin, it didn't have a picture of George Washington on it. It had a picture of King George. And that was the person who ruled your country. And I guarantee you didn't get a choice in who your king was going to be. You didn't get to vote for a king. But the people that were living here decided that that wasn't the way they wanted it to be. And they had a revolution, and they formed a new government, and they created a constitution to be the rules that they'd be guided by. And they said, we're going to pick the people who are going to run our government. But in order to make that work, the people have got to get out and vote. And so it's important that when this November election comes, and every election after that, that you remind your parents how important it is to vote, and that you go there with them and say, show me how you do this. Tell me, Mom, Dad, why is this so important to you? And I think that you're going to find when they tell you why they think it's important, there's going to be a lesson that you'll be able to share with your friends and maybe someday even with your own kids. So voting is important. It's important for each of you, and please encourage your parents to vote and be there with them. Thank you, and good luck.
Thank you, Judge Kelly. We are now going to hear from Vice Chairperson of the Board of County Commissioners. We want you to know that there are people representing you at all different levels of government. And I would ask Mr. Lee Masters to come to the podium.
I'd like to welcome everyone. First of all, one of the reasons why we vote is because we listen to the national anthem. We said to pledge allegiance. This is reasons that we have to vote. Voting is very important even at a young age. We have student council people who are elected in our classes, and we vote for them people to represent us throughout the year. When we get into high school, we have the same thing. We have student council people that we want representing us throughout the year, and also we vote on king and queens. At a very young age, we get involved with the community, or we should get involved with the community. Either as a candidate for an office, either a council, township trustee, a mayor, state representative, and so on. These are the people that will represent you, or you will represent them. It works both ways. To become involved, it starts with kids voting. All the importance of this is that in your single vote, you elect people that believe in some of the same principles that you believe in. We have political parties, corporations, special interest groups, PACs, and so on. These people on both sides of the fence backing their candidate, usually with money. That is why we have to be involved as single voters. If your parents don't vote on November 7th, or when you go to the polls, please take your parents with you. I would personally like to thank Detroit Edison, the media, the broadcast media, the business and financial groups, the civics groups, and all the volunteers that put this on today. Thank you.
And we would like to also thank you, Mr. Masters. Now we are ready for a very special part of our program this morning. We are going to have some student speakers talk to us. And I would like at this time to introduce to you Alicia Westerman, who's in 5th grade and at Palms Elementary School. Alicia, where are you? Alicia.
Because I live in the United States, I have the right and the privileges to decide who governs me and the laws I live under. Many countries do not allow the people to be involved in this process. What does voting mean to me? It gives me the right to make choices. It gives me the right to express my feelings. It gives me the right to decide who governs me, and it gives me the right to create a safer environment. Having the right to vote is not enough. I must be a responsible voter. What does it mean to be a responsible voter? It means that I need to understand the issues that are being voted on. It means that I need to exercise my right to vote. If I don't exercise my right to vote, I give up my right to decide how my government is run.
Thank you very much, Alicia. We're now going to hear from 2 students from Holland Woods Middle School, and we'll begin with Matt McLaughlin. Matt?
Hi, I'm Matt McLaughlin from Holland Woods Middle School, and these are my views on voting. In 1776, America claimed their independence from England. We claimed our freedom because of kings. People don't elect kings. Voting is a privilege. There are many countries that don't allow their countrymen to vote on issues or elect government officials to lead them. I was surprised to hear that less than 20% of the people in Michigan end up voting in the last election. That's just bad. What this program is doing is letting kids know the privilege of voting and even making it fun. Kids get to do what 18-year-olds do, and that's cool. This program is getting my friends and I aware of voting, that people have a choice in who is leading them, and that people have a choice in making decisions in our government. This program is what we need to get kids in the habit of caring about our government. I would hope it would create an interest and a sense of duty as an American citizen. Kids are future taxpayers and future homeowners. With this program, kids will be talking with their parents and getting their views and reasons for their choices. I think this program will make kids feel a part of the election, and we will see that what each person has to say in choosing our government officials. I understand that we don't vote legally, but we share our opinions and our views. I'm flattered that older people want my opinions. We should be asking to let us share our thoughts, and instead you're opening your minds to the young community first and offering to let us be heard. Another thing is that kids voting could trigger future events. Who knows, in 10 years, the government could lower the voting age to 16, all because of kids voting. I thank you for hearing me out and letting me speak my mind on kids voting, because I feel that what kids voting will affect my kids. Thank you.
And Matt, we want to thank you for sharing your thoughts. We're also going to hear another student from Holland Woods, and that is Ashley Snyder. Ashley?
Many people nowadays grow up with freedom as an everyday thing. They hardly give a second thought to their rights, just consider voting and freely stating their opinions as something done by everyone. 200 years ago, and even now, people were thankful for every small privilege they had. They did not take any rights they had for granted. After the Revolution, with thoughts such as these fresh in their minds, many brave men set out to build a country and rebuild the people. When the Constitution was drafted, these men showed that they could not only build a country, they could create a government. Based on a few central ideas, the United States was born. Our forefathers thought that everyone should have a say in the government. The House of Representatives, Congress, and the President all took part in lawmaking and were all voted into office. To make sure none would take complete control, a system of checks and balances was developed. To ensure the laws were obeyed, a judicial branch was formed. Perhaps one of the greatest things about our Constitution is that it may be expanded and changed. In a world that moves so quickly, this may be an important tool to use. Even though we may change parts, certain things, rights, are solid for everyone. No matter your age, race, gender, height, we cannot be enslaved or punished for practicing a certain religion or making our own choices. The brave men of the Revolution gave us more than just a new government, a new country. We are given the freedom to choose our leaders. Let us not take this, let us not show that their efforts were in vain. Let's vote.
Thank you very much, Ashley. We are now going to hear from Cassidy Zobel, who is a student at Cardinal Mooney. Cassidy?
Good morning. My name is Cassidy Zobel, and I'm from Cardinal Mooney Catholic High School in Marine City. This morning I'm going to share my views on our civic responsibilities to vote. It's important to vote because it preserves our democracy. America was founded as a nation for the people and by the people. If people don't get out and vote, then we are neglecting our duties as American citizens. Our vote does count and does make a difference. Voting is important to me because it enables me to be part of the election process. I feel that voting is a right as well as a responsibility. The only way to ensure that our government reflects the people's view is to make sure that everyone of legal age gets to the polls. We have to do this through education and by setting a good example for young voters. Prior to the 15th, 19th, and 24th Amendments, many Americans were denied the right to vote. Today, we are all able to vote because there is no discrimination. However, recently, the number of voters has declined. This is due mainly to the negative view that people have of our government. But I feel that by being here today, we are setting a positive example for everyone. It is our duty as good citizens to cast our votes by showing an interest in political events, issues, and candidates. By voting, we will help select leaders who can deal effectively with our nation's problems. In summary, voting is what democracy is all about. Our government system would collapse if no one voted. This ensures that our voices are heard and our political expectations are met. Thank you.
Thank you, Cassidy. At this point, I would like to thank the many people in our community who have given so much of their time and energy to kids voting, and we certainly are counting on people to continue with all of that because we think kids voting is a great idea. Particularly, I think you're going to be hearing from the media, the Liggett Communications, Adelphia Cable, WGRT Radio, the Times Herald, and Channel 6 will all be helping us to get the message out about how important it is for us to get registered and then to vote. We hope that all of you will take this message back to your fellow students and talk to parents and teachers, and we will then have a very wonderful turnout on November 7th. At this point, I would like to invite everyone in the room to join us for pizza and pop, and thank you so very much for being here. Thank you.
I'm Jeremy Barner from Local 6 News. I'm here at Michigami Elementary with voters. I'll be interviewing registered voters. There are also students here today voting alongside their parents as part of Kids Voting. And your name is?
Sarah.
How do you feel about being able to vote?
I feel that voting is an important way to exercise my rights and responsibilities as a citizen of the United States.
Thank you, ma'am. Yours?
Rachel.
How do you feel about being able to vote with your parent?
I feel good about being able to vote in the Kids Voting Recollection. I can't wait until I'm 18 so I can vote in a real election.
Your name is?
Grandma Rose.
Ma'am, how many years have you been voting?
I'm 88 years old and I've been voting ever since I was 21.
How do you think we can get more people out to vote?
If Grandma can do it, you can do it.
Your name?
Gordon.
Is this your first time voting?
Yes, because I've been too busy over the years.
What made the difference this year?
My granddaughter's in Miss Collins' class, and she encouraged me to come down here to vote today.
What a wonderful story. And your name is?
Laura.
How old are you, young lady?
I am 18 years old. This is my first time voting. I am very excited to have this opportunity to be involved in picking our next president.
It's very nice. Okay, viewers, I'd like to wrap up this newscast with a musical presentation by Carrie, Ashley, Megan, and Jennifer, and a final message from Miss Collins' 5th grade class.